Black lives, they matter here. 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 My name is Pastor Q from the Church Without Walls in Skid Row. Church I've been pastoring for the past 14 years. America's homeless capital, 70% black because of systemic racism. And so I come this morning with a heavy heart because I was looking at and reading again the confession of Nat Turner. I know some of y'all want to talk about the safe activists, and I'm okay with that. But I want to talk about somebody who wrestled with God and with slavery today. I want to talk about Nat Turner. You see, this week I was struck by the words from the confession of Nat Turner when he said, and I quote, "I was 31 years old of age the 2nd of October last and born the property of Benjamin Turner of this county." You see, because Nat Turner said he was born the property of Benjamin Turner, I wondered what his real name was. What was his African name? And as I was watching Steve Harvey last night, it struck me because Steve was in South Africa doing Family Feud, and he was struggling pronouncing the African names. Should Steve Harvey be struggling to pronounce African names? Come on now. Come on. I began to feel empty and a desire to know my African name. Because, see, like Nat Turner, my ancestors were born property of Ma and Monsieur Jamawi, because Jamawi is my last name. That is why Malcolm X, instead of Malcolm Little, he said, "I don't know my last name, so call me Malcolm X." See, Nat Turner said his grandmother was very religious, and he was very attached to her. He spoke of hearing his grandmother and his mother talk about how God had raised him up for such a time like this, and he would be a prophet. He would do something great. It stuck with Nat Turner. Another thing struck me. Nat never mentioned his father. You see, Google it. You'll find out what happened to his father. You see, it is institutional racism that would cause you to blame black communities for a single female head of household without considering that before the slave ships hit the shores of America in the 1600s, black fathers and black mothers were being separated from their families, sold to the highest bidder, and sent from plantation to plantation. Oh, I wish I could preach right now. I'm here to set some lies straight. It would be cruel to blame Hagar for being the first single female in biblical history, but at the same time, praise Abraham and his wife Sarai as heroes in the story. Come on, somebody, I wish I could preach. Because Hagar was Egyptian. Come on, somebody, I wish I could preach. And you read a Bible that was misogynistic and patriotic. Come on, somebody, I wish I could preach right now. Where women in the Bible were treated like second-class citizens until Jesus said, "I'm going to free this woman who is on capital punishment by an unjust male patriotic system that brought her to be stoned for the act of adultery, but did not bring the man who she slept with." I wish I could preach today. And likewise, many of the issues facing black folks in America today, many of these issues are deeply institutional and thus deeply rooted. And this is why we've got to say Black Lives Matter. Say it. Say it. Say it. So I stopped by today to say criminal justice and policing in the United States of America is supposed to be a system that protects and serves and administers justice to all communities in this nation, but it did not protect Emmett Till. It did not protect Trayvon Martin. It did not protect Botham Jean. It did not protect Breonna Taylor. It did not protect Sandra Bland. It did not protect George Floyd, and it will not protect you if you're the right color. I know the safest communities. I thank God for gang activists, for gang interventionists and the people who are on the streets doing the work because they've got the Spirit of God. But we know the safest communities in this nation are not safe because they have more police. They are safe because they have more resources. And if you want to find out how they got the resources, we can talk offline. So I want to end with this. I'm part of Black Lives Matter LA. I've been part of Black Lives Matter LA since 2013 because I knew God wouldn't run from Black Lives Matter. Oh, y'all didn't get that. I said I knew God would not run from Black Lives Matter. And so I'm one of the originators and co-founders of Black Clergy for Black Lives through Black Lives Matter. And one of the things I want to say about resources in our community, Proverbs 30:7 says this: Lord, don't give me too many riches to where I'm going to forget about you. I might just forget about you and drive off in my Tesla. But God, don't give me too little to where I'm going to have to go steal and dishonor your name. You see, in 2018, California went from the 6th largest economy in the world to the 5th largest economy in the world to with the widest income gap between the rich and the working poor. Where are the resources for our community? That's why Black Lives Matter is saying, defund the police and invest in our communities. Some of y'all don't get it, but that's what we're saying. We're saying we don't need to spend 54% of our budget on policing anymore. We're saying the Skid Row community, when we allocate $100 million towards houselessness, and we don't say homelessness because Skid Row is home to us. When we say, when you allocate $100 million towards houselessness, do not give 85% of it to LAPD. How are we going to get the housing that we need if you do that? I'm not here to talk about things that doesn't connect to the reality of what's happening on the ground. I'm here to connect them. Because just not too long ago, we've had 3 victories. $150 million directed from the police back into our communities. That was one victory. And in our schools, LAPD or LAUSD has the largest school police system in the nation. We can't resolve all our issues with policing, y'all. So the students from Students Deserve, let us, and by the way, I don't see myself as a leader in the movement. I see myself as a servant to those who lead the movement. And so the students protested and got LAUSD's budget to decrease by 35%, removing $25 million. So I'm here to say to you today, thank you for standing in solidarity, but understand what that solidarity means, because we're going after the system to dismantle the system, and we're challenging you to reimagine public safety. Reimagine public safety. And it doesn't mean to reimagine public safety doesn't mean to give the police more money. Put the money into our communities. Put the money into, we don't need police to mentor our kids. I'm sorry. Having police to black people, I don't know about everybody else, but to black people, to many black people, The word police is traumatizing. You wouldn't have the rapists. Come on, y'all. You would not have the rapists mentoring your kids. For some of you guys, police feel safe, but that's because we live in a divisive and a misogynistic and a patriarchal and a sexist society. We live in the construct of systematic racism and white supremacy. So the police are going to protect some at the expense of others. Blessings.